All right, here we go. Greetings once again. Out of there, ant. Well, yesterday, or not yesterday, just a couple minutes ago actually, we were discussing a couple things that may not sound as pertinent to this last day prophecy as it might seem to some, but it absolutely has everything to do with these last days. It's kind of like the parable, you know, where this fellow that owns a vineyard, it's time that the harvest comes about, so he goes out in the morning and he picks up some folks that want to work for the day for a penny, and they follow him. He puts them to work. You know, some of them most likely may not have, but then in those days maybe every one of them did know how, but I prefer to think that maybe some of them needed a little hands-on training. They didn't know everything there was to pick grapes and which ones to pick. You know, they were too busy just drinking the wine from it. And of course, we got a lot of idiotic preachers out there saying, oh, wine is a sin. Well, Yahshua drank it with most every meal that you see that he had. I don't even know if they didn't mention any kind of drink when he fed the 5,000 and the 4,000 men, not counting the women and children. But with most every other meal that they ate, it was wine. And of course, you know, you've got these lying preachers out there trying to tell you that it's Welch's grape. I got a little test for you. You go ahead and you take yourself a couple bunches of grapes, even the crap that they're selling out there in the stores today that don't even have seeds in it anymore, because people prefer not to eat the fruit that Yahweh provided for them. They had the seeds, and that's what you were allowed to eat, was the green herb with the seed, the fruit with the seed. They even got seeds out of the bananas now. But that's what we were allowed to eat. But, you know, mankind found Yahweh's blessings a little annoying, so they somehow had bred these things not to any longer have seeds. But here we are, you know, as a fella out there in the vineyard, not knowing exactly, you know, what it is that he's supposed to do. So the ruler of the owner of the vineyard comes out, he hires them, brings them out there, and he says, okay, these are the kind of fruit that you want to pick, because these are going to make the best wine, not grape juice like the preachers out there want you to say. Like I say, take yourself a bunch of grapes, squish it up, put it into a jar or whatever, and just seal it up. And keep it there for 3 or 4 months, because you only have the grapes during one time of the year that you're going to harvest, and then you're going to drink this all year long. So I want to see these lying preachers proved as lying preachers to yourself by doing this little test. See, there's this yeast that's on the cover of every grape. It's created that way. It's like a magnet to yeast. So when you break open the skin, it instantly starts to produce alcohol, because the yeast starts eating on the sugars and they poop out the alcohol. It's just a fact. You got these preachers out there saying, oh, drinking wine is a sin. You know, oh, sure it's a sin. But you show me, Mr. Preacher, how you're going to keep the harvest of the grape in the spring or, you know, the summer, and keep it all the way around to the next year where they're still drinking wine with grape juice with every meal. And for Passover, okay, they're to drink wine, are they not? Oh, grape juice, right? Well, you explain to me how that Passover, which is a time that the grapes are just starting to come out, maybe the flowers just started falling off the grapevines, to where they're going to produce these grapes. So you're drinking the juice from the previous year when Passover comes around. So you explain to these people while you're out there lying to them about the blessings that our Father gave to us to partake of, but having self-control to do these things, you explain to your congregation, because Welch's didn't figure it out. It was figured out a few hundred years ago when they would, you know, take the grapes that they had squished, they boil it, put it into jars, seal it, and put it down in the bottom of these ponds or whatever where the water was cold, and that would keep it as grape juice. But they didn't have pasteurization, they didn't have bottling as they do today, and you're a bunch of lying bass turds, as in salmon turds or Octopus turds, you're all bass turds, okay? You're liars and you're thieves and you're stealing my father's children, and the time is going to come upon you where you either will repent or you're going to be sorry, plain and simple. Alright, so anyway, I'm out there, and the ruler of the field told me he's going to give me a penny for the day. He showed me what grapes and everything to pick, and, of course, I got my butt chewed a few times because I still picked the wrong bunches of grapes, when I brought them up, but I'm still doing it, and I'm getting better at it as the day goes on. I'm getting better. I'm starting to understand just what grapes to be picked and such. Well, we're not really doing all that great. There weren't all that many that was out there first thing at, the break of day. Of course, I've got this insomnia problem, so I stayed up all the night, I still had to feed my family, so that's when the ruler came and chose me to go out there with him to the field to work for him for the day. Well, a few hours later, he realized, well, we're probably not going to get this whole harvest done today, and we need it done, so the ruler went back out, to the job fair or the job line there, and he said, hey, I got some work to be done. Is there anyone here willing to, follow me, and for a penny I'll give you for working the day? Oh, sure. A few more of them came along. Well, of course, the ruler just dumped them off over there, and these guys are like, well, what do we do? Well, I was showed by the ruler, what kind of grapes and things that he was wanting for his harvest, so I ended up, here I'm working the whole day for a penny. I didn't know this other guy's getting a penny for working the rest of the day. I've already been out there a few hours, I've already learned what grapes are, grapes to be used. So now I'm training these fellas that just come in, because the ruler, he already hired me, he taught me, so he's gone back to enjoy his wine from the previous year, Well, we're out there sweating our butt off in the field working, and of course, I help show these people what to do, what grapes to do, and I follow after them. At the same time, I'm still doing the work I have to do. At the same time, I'm training them. Well, once again, the ruler says, well, you guys just ain't going to get this field done. There's no way. You just cannot finish this field on time. So he sends out again, goes out there and into where all these people needing work are gathered, and he says, hey, I'll tell you what, you come on over, work, rest of the day, it's only noontime, come on over, work the rest of the day, I'll give you a penny for the day. Oh, sure. So sends them back over. Well, not only I have to, and the other fellows hired at the same time as I was, but then there were, the others that we had to train. Well, now you got these others coming in, and they got to be trained too, so it's a little bit on the easier side. I only have a few to train, and then those I had trained, and the same as those that was along with me to beginning and trained the ones that they did. So now, together with the ones that we trained and us being trained, we're training those that are coming in, and they're working, and of course, once again, it's discovered, after they get doing the job right, it's still not going to have enough for the harvest. So the ruler goes out a couple more times, and then just before the end of the day, which is right now, this is actually what's going on today with you, if you're just starting to hear and understand this wonderful word, you're being called out, and you've been offered the penny for the day. Now, at the end, after Planet X and Nibiru, if that's how it's supposed to come about, it doesn't matter how it's going to come. Just know that it's going to come. This is the judgments of Yahweh, and he's called us out, not as though we're great, because believe you me, once you come to understand, you're lower than the lowest. You are the scum of the earth, and that's exactly who Yahweh is calling out through Yahshua Messiah. For this work is the scum of the earth. And I was the chief of sinners. I don't even want to discuss the things I used to do, but I've repented of those things. But the fact comes that soon the ruler is going to stand up, and it's going to be time for the paychecks to be handed out. And of course, in the line's going to be the first ones are going to be those that just came in, a couple minutes before the ending. They was trained a little bit, but they're going to be the first ones in the line to get paid. They've been out there for, half an hour, man, I've been out there in the sun the entire day. I've had to train crew after crew, You know, they came in, some of them didn't even bother staying. Some said, that's baloney, man. Picked a couple bunches of grapes and off they ran, you know, because they weren't going to stand out there and do the work that was necessary. But I'm not going to be the fellow in the back of the line saying, what in the world is going up with them guys up there? I just trained them. They just came in. And what is this? They're getting a penny and that's all I was promised? You're not going to hear that from me. I'm thankful. I'm going to stand in the very back of the line because I think that's where I belong. I've sinned the most, I believe. I deserve the strictest judgment. And that's why I stopped preaching. I'm sharing with you the life experiences I had, and we're discussing this thing about Planet X, but never take your faith for granted and always be thankful for everything that comes. In fact, you should be thankful for what is about to come. It's one thing to be scared, and when people are scared, it's when they're startled, okay? And this shouldn't startle you, okay? So we had talked about, you know, the Malakim that had the golden censers, you know, when he opened the seventh seal and so on and so forth. And then we were into the trumpets, and wormwood came crashing into the earth after a censer had been filled up with the prayers and such and tossed out onto the earth and burned up a third of everything. So now what we're basically, and then the last thing I was on before the bitter waters was the third Malak sounded his trumpet, and a great star blazing like a torch fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. That's because they were guilty. As I said, my life has been drinking these bitter waters all along, so I'm not going to have to drink these bitter waters again. I just have to stand strong, and my faith has to stand strong. And I'm really thankful for the people that are leaving comments. I'm thankful for the people that are watching these videos. But hey, I didn't draw you to these videos. It was Yahshua that drew you. Now, whether you agree with what's being said, what his word is or not, it's totally up to you. You know, Yahshua is not going to force you, but he knows who his is, and he's going to have Satan, you know, whoop on your butt until you finally do listen to his words and keep his words, if that's what it takes. But he'd rather you just love him and keep his law, keep his word, keep his Father's law and word, so you can escape these things. Says the fifth Malak sounded his trumpet. This is Revelations 9:1. We're going to further for another 5 minutes or so into the newer parts of the scripture, and then hopefully tonight before the sun sets I'll be able to get one more video out. The fifth Malak sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth, and the star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. So now this is a second star, whether it's a meteorite, a asteroid, a whatever. It's defined as a star. The first one brought forth the wormwood. This one here has the key to the shaft of the abyss. Now I'm thinking this could even be Yellowstone Park, but like I said, I believe every word that the prophets have ever spoken. Do I understand every word that the prophets spoke? No, I do not. I've been praying for the gift of the spirit of prophecy. It's a gift of the Holy Spirit. I know of nobody on this earth yet that's got it. You've got a lot of doomsday preachers out there. You know, there's a cult right behind me here that's spoken so many times that destruction, nuclear destruction is coming, you know, and it's going to be here on this date, and it's going to start on this date, and it's going to finish on this date, and it's going to come about on that date. And these people have no understanding of what truth is. They certainly don't know what the prophets have spoken. It takes a spirit of prophecy for one to understand and then to be able to give it to others. I'm thinking I got like a little teeny grain of sand of what's offered in the whole beach side of the ocean of prophecy. Now I do believe that everything the prophets ever spoke will come to pass. It will come true. There's no doubt in my mind there. I just don't know what in the world it is that they said in many of the cases. These things I understand a little, and using the other scriptures I put things together to where these things make a little more sense, even though I don't know them completely. But by me reading them, I know for you to get in the scriptures and read them yourself, you may have a problem. So I'm trying to make it easy for you. I'm serving you the meal. Whether you eat it or not, it's totally up to you. So anyway, this star fell from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. Revelation 9:2. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. Now, keep your mind open. What's the title of this here series that I put in? It has to do with volcanoes and such and earthquakes. The planet Earth was created as a gigantic nuclear reactor at its start, but now it's been broken up through the flood of Noah and such, and now the fracking of oil and everything else, for greed. We're destroying this earth, and this here nuclear reactor is no different than that on Fukushima and along the the Midian fault, the Midrian fault, whatever you want to call that fault line, runs up through Louisiana and such, goes on up through, but they've got all kind of nuclear reactors on that line. So here, Revelation 9:2, when he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given power like the scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of Yahweh on their foreheads. Now, once again, here is those problems coming on the earth, but they're being held back. First time it was a Malak that was sent to stop the 4 Malakim on the, on the corners of the earth. They had the power over the wind to bring forth destruction and destroy, but they were to hold back until the children, fathers, 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe, which you can become a member of the tribe by just keeping the laws and the commandments. That's all it takes for you to become an Israelite. Then you too can become an Israelite and become part of that 12,000 from each tribe, 144,000 for these last days. Now, this is another. The star was thrown down the shaft of the abyss. The smoke comes up out the abyss, darkens the sun and the sky.